GM, guys.
How goes it?
Busy as ever. I'm driving to Denver right now.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to be on the road tomorrow. I'm on a bit of a road trip myself. Where are you headed to? Oh, you're going to Denver. Eat Denver, obviously.
Yeah.
Ernest,
Heading out a little earlier than intended initially, but it's doing good.
Gotcha. Yeah. Nothing wrong with jumping out there early. Heard you on a podcast too, by the way. Pretty good.
I have not listened to that podcast. I haven't even proofread what he did, so I have no idea if I sound like garbage or not.
No, I thought it was a really good discussion. I think you came up well. Ernest, are you leaving sometime soon?
No, I can't make it. So I won't be attending either.
Oh, get out of here. Oh, man. Okay. Sorry to hear that.
That is a shame. I was looking forward to a chance to meet you.
How long have you guys been working side by side? Has this been like a couple of years now, or is it like...
I mean, we only started recently working side by side. We're both pretty active, but generally on different quadrants of the Dow. I've slowly been getting more involved in the ops department. So that gets our offices closer together.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of ships passing in the night.
Yeah. Always passing in the hallways. And on the elevator.
How does this? So how does this meeting normally go down? Like, what's the agenda? Because this is my first time attending it.
In the Notion page, I have created a weekly with the date associated with it. It's the only one on the meetings that's in progress. Oh. And that's where I've got some of the initial notes set up. I have an item on there for upgrading the weekly meeting template. And so we'll actually be diving into that a little bit later in the call to talk about refining what we have going on, because a lot of it's been emergent as needed, and I would like to get a little bit more order and structure around it that brings a little more meat with these calls.
I like templates. Generally, we just duplicate the previous meeting. Are you creating a template or a meeting for today? Okay.
Yeah, it's already in there.
Okay. It's just not sorted.
Yeah, it drops down at the bottom for some reason.
You just don't got the date filled in. There you go.
That'll do it. Okay.
It's sorted by date, so it's up at the top now.
Excellent. But yeah, I would like to, at some point soon, ideally this week, get a little bit more formatting to a blank template that we use, which I know that they've got a new option up at the top right of this meeting block. And so we can create a generic template. And I want to get sort of the most recurring items on that template, and then a sort of subheader for that gets the individuals that are responsible for that particular portion of the work stream, so that we can take a sort of local update format and get a little bit more focused on what sort of things we want to cross off the list each week, and see where the balls have moved and where we have blockers and what we can get planned on and make the most of the hour we got.
Sounds good.
Welcome to the other new joiners in here today, King, Love Tea, and Ella. It's good to see you guys around. All right. I guess I will dive on into the first portion of the updates because I don't have this thing fully templatized in the way I was hoping to get beforehand.
Do
go ahead,
we
Robert.
want to pick a Do we want to pick a note taker? And
Yes.
also, does everybody on the call have access to the meeting notes? So definitely unmute and tell us if you don't. Okay. Does anybody want to volunteer to take notes?
I can do that.
Okay, cool.
Always appreciated. All right. So for ETH Denver, the artwork for the POAP that is going to be used in the workshop is complete. So I'm going to be converting that into the POAP today, and then hopefully turning the claim link from the guild page into a QR so that we can print that out for all of the attendees that are going to be at that particular workshop. And that will be used as the first stage of onboarding. I'm also thinking about getting a second QR up for the Thrivecoin community page that will allow us to, using those two QRs, give them a real quick run through of the items that we are going to need to onboard them into the Bankless DAO workstream and get the contribution type recognized for having that POAP. I am also looking at getting the contribution type added once the POAP is minted. So I've got a fair amount of legwork to take care of on that. And then the slide deck for the actual meeting is in the process of getting templatized. So I should be filling that out and be ready for my dry run sometime early this week. And then after we get the work stream funded from the grants committee, there is an outstanding payment to Jason the Best Vibe for the art he delivered for the coat. And so those are kind of the things that are on my to-do list for ETH Denver. That may expand, but those are what I'm looking at tackling over the next about 72 hours or so. The Making Bank podcast, I need to follow up with Drost and find out if the art is finished and get that ball across the finish line as soon as possible. That way we can launch the Juicebox campaign and get the Thrivecoin contributions live in time for ETH Denver. I am planning to mention that in my slide deck so we can ideally drive some attention and potentially revenue to both the Making Bank podcast and to our work stream. So there's a lot of meat to follow up on in there, but I'm not sure what that current status is. We'll be touching base with Drost later today. For the analytics and retro, I've gotten in touch with Paula Pivot, who was the OG analyst of Bankless DAO, and he has put me in some DMs with a different DAO named, I think it was Metrics DAO. I gotta double check my DMs for sure. And they are a potential talent partnership that we can leverage to get some extra brain power in to assist Scott with maintaining the analytics and retro analysis. Other than that, I'd be interested in if there's any changes in the current state of things from your side, Scott.
Struggling to find the mute button. No, nothing from my end. Ernest has really been kind of driving the analytics side of things at this point. So I'm kind of holding on for dear life. But it seems like, Ernest, from like your perspective, we've gotten a few pieces of information and we're just still looking for like a few pieces more.
Yeah, definitely.
I was just going to say, I'd love to see a walkthrough at some point of the stuff that's been dropped in Airtable.
Well, that's two different things. The main thing is we got to scope out exactly what data Joe's actually got in his mind. And so this charts and graphs worksheet in the opportunity, in the Bankless contributions analysis spreadsheet or workbook, is an attempt to try to describe the numbers that Joe's talking about so that we can identify what the actual research question is and then where to get the data to resolve that question. So there's definitely, we need some clarifications from Joe on exactly what data he's looking for. Because there's us looking at Bankless DAO data, and then there's looking at Thrivecoin data to share with other organizations to try to get them excited about Thrive. There's two completely different types of analytics that's being discussed. Based
For
off,
sure.
yeah, and so there's not. I don't think there's a real. That's what's creating some of the fuzziness, is that the analytics that we're trying to develop is like overview analytics, and we don't know where all that data that we need is actually coming from. We don't know.
So the high level objective is we want these analytics to give us as much information as we can to refine our work stream and maximize not only our revenue earning potential, but our effectiveness in community satisfaction. Anything that we can identify and pull from these local sectors, both what we're covering and what is on that larger macro for what Thrivecoin's useful, are targeting developing our sustainability as a work stream. Like, ideally, we'll never fund another grants committee request, so we want to ramp up our ability to generate revenue within the DAO as fast as possible.
Okay, that's almost helpful. Like,
if we want to do a sync call to dive deeper in on that, I'm totally down. It's just a matter of getting it scheduled.
Yeah, no, we can't move forward on analytics till we have that call, because we don't know that, like I said, that's not, it's good to have a general overview statement, but it doesn't help us in actually shaping the research questions.
Yeah,
I can get a meeting on the call, like on the books for us to get that going. Does anybody else want to be? So far, it would be me, Ernest, and Joe. Is there anybody else who would want to jump in on that call?
One way that these research questions have been thought of, sort of with other communities, is looking at what are the most important funnels within each network. So, like Discord being a network, for example. So, what is the start and what is the end, and using that as our anchors for understanding, okay, through contributions, we want to see sort of how many people do we have at the start of the funnel, how many people do we have at the end of the funnel. This is a funnel that we think is meaningful to move people from start to end. And then contributions, opportunities, we're looking at, okay, how do those help people move from the start to the end of the funnel? At a high level, it's like beginner user to super user in whatever space it happens to be, or beginning member to super member.
Yeah, no, based on the description from Joe, the end of the funnel looks like revenue going into the DAO treasury. That's the funnel. And so what research questions do we got to ask to be able to draw the correlation between Thrivecoin contributions and funds going into our DAO treasury. Based on how I understand Joe's description of the analytics, we're not even looking at the membership pathway for the contributor pathway. We're specifically looking at, okay, activity is funds go into the DAO treasury. They increase in funds into the DAO treasury because there's some type of increase in Thrivecoin contribution activity. What data do we need to be able to look at those correlations to see if there's any causal effects?
At this point, I'll pause it for a moment and say I am not an analytics guy. I know a little bit, but it's mostly enough to get me in trouble. So don't take what I have said as rule of law. I am hoping to kind of turn over that specialization into your guys' hands. So what Robert has said is actually a really good way to kind of calibrate and adjust based off of my initial thoughts. I am learning as much as I am trying to help guide here. So, yeah.
And I don't think they're mutually exclusive. So one of those funnels might be revenue based, but maybe that's not the only one.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk
like
about it on a
the
devoted call.
sustainability metric, but yes.
And just want to shout out, like, all of the analytics work you all have been doing has been so helpful and so amazing, and I'm super excited about it.
Plus one to that. You guys have been working hard on it.
Shepard, I'll probably touch base with you before setting up that meeting, just to get a little bit more information onto the agenda.
Sure. Yeah, you can just DM me.
Cool.
With the number of people that we're going to try and coordinate getting on that call, it would probably be a good idea to drop a let us meet. And that way we can make sure we get a time that maximizes our overlap.
Can do.
Awesome. And then the education and onboarding. Has anything moved there yet, Ernest?
You brought Steph in. So we introduced her to the resources that we have. Yeah, she's in charge of that now. We're prepared in education departments. To start developing a course when that material's together. But so now we're waiting on Steph to put those materials together.
Awesome. That leads into one of the later things I had on the agenda, which was seeing if she had gotten in touch with you yet. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Cool. I already
Ernest,
touched base a little bit.
Sorry to keep interrupting. I just wanted to anything related to that.
Go ahead. Were you trying to say something, Shepard?
Yeah. I was asking if there's anything education material related that you're waiting on me for.
It's been handed over to Steph, so I haven't.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
I'll follow up with her to double check.
Yeah, I don't know what her plan is.
She tends to be on other side of the world kind of timing, so you might find early morning as the best time to get in touch with her, Robert.
Sounds good.
And let's see, we already touched base on the weekly meeting upgrade for the template, so I'm just going to skip over that. Governance rewards. I haven't really had any time to follow up on anything in that recently. I don't even know if there's anything in the workstream channel for that. But Zara, Oluwastrabami, and King had volunteered to assist in that. Do you guys have anything that has moved since the last time we talked?
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, we could not meet last week with above average Joe. But the only thing we have done, I think myself and IBK, we commented on the Kanban board. We made a comment on things, governance, activities that should be rewarded. So I think you can see it there. Myself and IBK. Then I think Jenga also left a comment. So that's what we've done so far. But we were expecting AAJ to have a call with us.
Okay, I don't think I have scheduled that call yet. So let's get on a secondary let us meet to schedule that one as well. Can I put it on your plate to get that let us meet spun up?
Yes, I could do that.
I appreciate it greatly, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And then next up, the grants committee. The proposal review was not on the agenda for last week, so it will be going on to next week's agenda. And so there's nothing to really report about success or failure there yet, but we have overwhelming vote support on the forum, so it shouldn't be a very hard sell. And then the Kanban for the community call slide deck. Since season 6 is wrapped, we can close that one out and get a new one started for season 7 and start prepping a little bit more of a work stream responsibility around ownership of the updates for that call. And I don't know if I'm necessarily ready to hand that over quite yet, but I would like to get that moved after ETH Denver if we don't have it by next week.
Is that an ask, or are you just informing?
It's a little bit of both. It's mostly informing. It's kind of an open ask, but I am planning to kind of continue managing it myself for the moment. So it's mostly the Kanban that is ask related in terms of getting it moved from season 6 to season 7. The Polygon safe, I still have not created that. I'm basically treating that as something that's on a backlog item unless we get a project that has revenue coming from Polygon, in which case it'll move up in priority. So for now, mainnet is the main way that we are looking to handle our funding from the work stream. And thus far, we have no revenue specific in yet, but I'm hoping to change that by the end of ETH Denver with the Making Bank podcast Juicebox campaigns. So we'll see exactly how that goes, but for the moment, sticking on mainnet. The decentralized arts and Chippy project revenue splits are on my radar for following up and seeing if those guys have had any movement. I have had general support in a preliminary status, but I have yet to see if they have gotten the rest of their teams on board. So there's a fair amount that should be updated on that by next week, but nothing else to report for now. I also have the list of the top 5% winners from season 6 that I need to get in touch with the Thrivecoin side and get that list delivered for the baby G's. That's the last of the prizes that needs to be sent out. And then there's one winner from the season 6 raffle that I am in a due diligence follow up on. I've gotten a response from them initially, and now I'm scheduling the call with them to sort of verify genuine activity. Assuming they pass that call, I'll be sending out that last prize. But if I can't get that call scheduled with them, then we may wind up re-raffling one prize from season 6 next week. I don't anticipate that being necessary since they responded on the email, though. Last up is the season 7 prize acquisition. I need to circle back with Robert fairly soon on that and get the initial prizes purchased and transferred into the multi-sig. That should be on our radar over the course of this next week or so. And once we have those prizes in, then I can update the prize list for the season with the specifics around the Buffacorn and the Dowpunk that we pick up from the floor.
What's the timing for grant review for the grant proposal that we put in?
Next Monday, that's when the grants committee will approve or deny it. And then after that vote runs through, we just have to wait for the settlement from their work stream. And once they send the funds to our multi-sig, we can perform reimbursements and get everybody paid up for the work stream.
Thanks.
And those are all of the agenda items that I had enough time to get on to the topics for today. So if there's anything else that we have missed or that you guys would like to add to the agenda, we are now in a position to kind of open up the floor and have an open forum discussion. And assuming there's anything after that, then maybe we can discuss adding a few different new contribution types if you guys have any ideas.
I'd be curious for those that were there for the raffle, if you have any feedback about what worked, what didn't, what could be improved.
It was fun. The spinner was cool. But
How did this work? So like they had a raffle and everyone's name was like on the spinner and then just kind of used that?
that would be a cooler spinner for sure.
Okay.
But
I have the spinner.
yeah, I forget. I think it was done by like a number or something like that. It was, you couldn't tell who was on the spinner, but you could like see it spinning. And then
So-
it would report to you who on the wheel won. There was a bot that handled it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one open question. So what we had in the like Thrivecoin web app, everybody has sort of raffle ticket numbers, and so we were just spinning the ticket numbers. The way it had been done in previous seasons is we were putting both the ticket number and the username on the app, which includes, for most people, that's the same as their wallet address because they haven't customized it. In terms of sort of personal information, do you think it's fine or better to do the one that includes sort of people's app usernames, which again is usually their wallet address? Or do you think it's better to do it the way it was this time, where it's just the raffle ticket number and then we look up who that belongs to?
I just like the wallet addresses in case I want to do an Ether scan. was like,
Cool. Yeah, good to know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, nothing. My dog is just barking like crazy. Please go. I'm just going, oh, God, flipping dog.
Yeah, I mean, we might be good if any other topics anybody wanted to raise or share or ask.
I'm down to talk analytics.
Cool. So, awesome. But yeah, I might need to run now. I can talk at a high level briefly about it, but I might need to run.
Yeah, actually,
also,
go ahead, Shepard.
Oh, I was just going to say also, anybody that will be at ETH Denver, let us know, because it would be great to meet everybody in person.
Really would. Actually, first and foremost, would you mind kind of repeating, or let's kind of come to consensus with regards to like what we want out of these analytics with regards to what you were saying before about the funnel. That's kind of what I would want to add to the agenda for this meeting.
Yeah, so at the high level, the idea is, there's a series of funnels that are usually network specific, network being something like Discord or Discourse or Twitter, that are really valuable to the DAO. And what we would want to do is define sort of what does the start and what does the end of that funnel look like at a bare minimum. And make sure that, first of all, we're tracking that through contributions. So even if it's not giving any reward other than a thank you note, then at least we're tracking. What we can start to do is say, all right, what are all the milestones in between? What are all the extra contribution opportunities that we think help move people through? And I think that can be a real guiding light in terms of, are we offering the right opportunities? Are we giving the right rewards? And are we seeing the movement that we want to see?
Copy that. Okay. Thank you. I'm putting this down right now. Oh, I mean that. Cool. Other folks, what do we think of that definition as kind of like our goal?
I think that's a great starting point. We can continue to refine and iterate as time goes on, but I would like to get the ball started rolling and then move from there. So I think that's a great initial point of engagement, and then we can expand on that.
Do we want to start by kind of identifying our funnels? Would that be a good starting place here?
I do think that's not a bad idea. I see a couple of different types. There's like the platforms that we use, which is more tooling based. There's the sort of key community sustainability metrics. That's the stuff that's like the revenue in and the cross project promotion, things like that. That's a little less solid, but the things that help move our community strength forward. And then user activity, things like that, that indicate whether or not we as an organization are growing or stagnating. And gosh, there's probably more, but I get a little fuzzier around those edges.
Yeah, some potential buckets to think about. I can drop this in the chat as well. Is onboarding. So that's, I think, what Above Average Joe is saying is sort of on like user activity. So like the end of that funnel might be like becoming an L2. So you have onboarding, governance, brand reputation, and culture. So that would sort of internal and external, and revenue. And then also in terms of reward values, one framework to think about might be this. So it's a sort of, I put it in the chat as well, like an ADKAR behavior change model, with the idea being that like certain things are just about awareness, awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, reinforcement. Each of them is kind of an order of magnitude up in terms of the value that they're providing.
Would our next step on this be just kind of to maybe map this out with regards to, because you kind of identified like the end of that one funnel, but maybe we like list out all the funnels, show all the starts to ends, and go from there?
Yeah, I think that sounds great to me.
And Shepard, I know you need to jump at some moment here, so
yeah, and if I'll probably jump now unless you all have direct questions. But yeah, I mean, just to give do you have any questions on this sort of suggested model for the buckets and the kind of model?
it's clear to me. I think I have like a good understanding. Like I'd like almost to set up a mural board of some kind, like so we can get like a more of a physical visualization of this. But does anybody else have any questions? Because he's giving me enough that I can kind of start here.
Yeah, I don't understand that model.
The funnel model?
The ADKAR?
Yeah, the awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, reinforcement.
Yeah, so the general idea, so it's called ADKAR. It's a kind of like common behavior change model, and the idea is that so to make it a little more practical, let's say like awareness would be like follow on Twitter, right? So I'm like just starting to engage in this thing. Desire would be like tweet. So I'm doing stuff, but it's not clear whether the stuff I'm doing is actually valuable. Then maybe knowledge would be like speaking in a Twitter space. So I'm actually sort of in particular Twitter spaces, I'm like contributing things that are pretty commonly seen as the DAO as valuable. Ability might be I'm sort of helping to organize the Twitter space. And then reinforcement would be like I'm teaching people how to organize Twitter spaces.
So in the spreadsheet, we have consumer behavior and contributor behavior. And I've identified each of the consumer and contributor behaviors as either a collecting behavior, a do, a join, or create. And
yeah, I mean, I think it'd be...
And so the specific activity types can correlate with those behaviors.
It's just a brainstorm. It's just food for thought. but I think the potential advantage of the model I just put in is like, if it's a do behavior, do we know if it's a valuable do behavior or is it a not valuable do behavior? And so kind of trying to distinguish between those in terms of understanding, like, am I just doing stuff or am I like definitely doing stuff that is valuable? And again, I think any starting point is going to start to be really, really helpful. So hopefully I'm not making things sort of harder to get started or more complicated. Just wanted to put out some food for thought.
No, I'd be interested in checking out this model because this is new to me as well. Shepard, what's your like work schedule like? Is this like one of the only other projects you're kind of looking at, or?
Yeah, I primarily work on Thrivecoin things, but with a bunch of communities in a bunch of different capacities.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because I think we could really use your help on just kind of like figure out like what we want to go forward with this. So like just kind of staying in communication. So that's what I'm just thinking of.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Any other questions before I hop?
You called this the add cart behavior change model?
I just put it into chat. So ADKAR, ADKAR.
Okay.
You should apologize, Joe. Don't worry about it.
I was just trying to see. I actually have I can set up a Miro board for you. I have a professional Miro board account that lets like infinite guests use it. So
nice.
Let me just create a Miro board for you. Say BDAO. Say BDAO funnels or something like that.
Shepard's got a golden ticket.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I use Africa DAO's Miro board. They created one and got an account and then never use it. So I'm the only one that uses their stuff, but it's like my personal Miro board. A lot of people use Figma, and then MindMeister is pretty decent for free version. I do like Miro.
I love Miro. I keep my shopping list of Miro.
Well, that's excessive. I just dropped a link in the chat for the co-working yurt. Do you want to just somebody hop in and make sure it works and you can edit on top of it?
We good?
Awesome. Sweet. Yeah, sorry I gotta run. And again, thanks everybody for all the thinking. Excited to hear what emerges.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Later. Ernest, are you still sticking around? What's your thing? What are you going on?
I am. Yeah, I'm free for the next hour. Got a Ops Guild meeting in an hour. And then the Analytics Guild meeting is in 2 hours.
Oh, dang. Okay. Is that worth I mean, are they covering topics that would be worthwhile like to what we're doing?
No, they're a guild that's trying to reform. They've been unfunded for a couple seasons because for just lack of talent. They tried to fold into Dev Guild, but I am trying to talk with Letsan and Olu on what if Analytics Guild can help us with the analytics that we need. So I was just gonna attend their meeting to kind of touch base with them, see where they're at. But it's hard to move forward on the analytics until we actually know what data we actually want. And AdCar, I mean, I think we're not trying to affect change management throughout the system of our organization. So I'm a little concerned about how useful that's going to be. But
Gotcha.
interested in learning up more about it because, I mean, essentially we're not wanting to do organizational change in our management and operations. All we're wanting to do is move people through funnels, either through consumer behavior or through rewarding contributor behavior. So I think we can use the AdCar model to help market Thrivecoin, to help people understand their role. I really think this would be useful in the governance department because nobody understands what they're doing there.
Fun.
Yeah, but BDAO funnels. But yeah, I'll definitely spend some time reading up on the AdCar. Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing. I was getting
Yeah.
a little bit of homework to do.
Yeah, but we're not exactly affecting change management. So the bringing
What would be the model we're looking for here? We're looking for what
where this is a research
motive.
this is a research thing, right? So it's analytics is a research. So you need research questions. And in a good research question is the specific type of data needed to answer the question. So having clear questions is the first place to start, and unfortunately we gotta wait forever again to work on those. But yeah, I don't even understand Joe's questions, or half of them. So we can't move forward on any analytics. And we're having conflicting goals in what's driving the research questions. So that's adding to the ambiguity of being able to develop the research questions. Because if the goal of the research is to if the funnel that we're researching is does, the question is, does increased activity in Thrivecoin lead to increased revenue in the DAO treasury?
That sounds like a pretty good summation. Maybe
Yeah.
let's put that on the board.
Does that correlate? Well, I got it. So
It's in the notes too.
Well, yeah, if there's an analytics workflow Kanban now too. And I've added KPIs and success metrics as properties now to the database, the Kanban database. So one of the things that I want to do is go through the Kanban and identify the KPIs and success metrics. And essentially, the KPIs and success metrics for analytics will depend on defining the research question and then being able to execute on it. But so if what we're trying to look at is if the funnel is, does increased activity in Thrivecoin correlate to increased revenue in the DAO treasury, or we could be talking about a contributor pathway of some sort. So
I was going to ask you, so revenue and participation almost.
Well, these are two totally separate research questions, right? That are resolved through quantitative analytical study, in on the question. We don't want to have so the contributor pathway funnel is one question. The funnel to the DAO treasury is another question. All that data could go into the same database, right? And then a different view of that database could answer each question individually, but we just got to realize they're two separate funnels. And so which one are we talking about, or are we talking about both? And Joe has largely been talking about revenue into the DAO treasury. That's really all he cares about, is does what we do translate to increased revenue in the DAO treasury? If it does, and every single DAO out there wants increased revenue into the DAO treasury, then we have product market fit. If we can demonstrate that we can do that through running Thrivecoin reward system, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't say anything about that is a contributor. Do contributors feel more engaged and rewarded, or do they feel more valued, the more they participate in Thrivecoin? What's the contributor pathway funnel? We haven't even talked about that. It's just kind of thrown out there today. And the contributor pathway could also be is there a change in behavior based on increased contributor rewards? I don't know. like somehow the contributor part, we're saying that, a contributor, a person new to the DAO, basically just does the follow behaviors, right? They do the follow behaviors, they do the attend, they do the consumer. So what causes the shift from consumer behavior to contributor behavior? So like these are a whole 4 hours more of discussion before we can figure out the contributor pathway. We've spent the last 3 weeks of discussion around analytics, essentially focused on revenue into the DAO treasury funnel. So I don't want to go down the contributor pathway funnel. I want to stay focused on this one revenue into the DAO treasury funnel. And then we can do the contributor pathway stuff later. But this is what he wants. He wants to be able to approach another organization, say, we can help you with Thrivecoins if you pay us. And, in Bankless DAO, we're showing that this activity leads to an increase into the DAO treasury. And then that company is going to be like, yes, let's have a meeting,
Yeah.
And then they're going to see, oh, okay, the activities that your contributors are doing in your DAO similar to our DAO. So yeah, we think that if we maybe had these Thrivecoin rewards, we could see the same results, So that's the cash cow.
So the most immediate question being, does participation in Thrivecoin increase revenue in the DAO treasury?
Yeah.
Like that seems to be a number one. So let's try to answer that, because to your point, the other questions may take us hours. And if we can kind of concentrate on this, maybe get an answer out of this one, that'd be a good place to start.
It's very concrete, and it's literally what we and so that spreadsheet of charts and graphs is essentially what data do we need to create. Let me add. Yeah, what's the actual question? Boom. So, like, what do we need? One, we have to be able to, and I like your idea about stakeholder mapping, by the way. That's like the first thing that should always be done, and nobody does it. Nobody ever. That's why it's so difficult for folks to discuss and map out what member activity is in all the organizational units, is because they've never done like a stakeholder mapping exercise.
Maybe we start there. We're starting to get like a little lost on exactly where we should be starting.
Well, for me, it's a research question. We just need to design the research question, and then of course stakeholder mapping can be part of that. But we got to figure, we have to be able to get access to BDAO treasury inflows. We need per member season to season activity metrics. And then we need to be able to subdivide those activity metrics to refine any correlation between Thrivecoin activity and revenue inflow. That's in my mind. How I kind of frame it.
Oh, I see where you're playing out.
Yeah. And how do I freeze this flipping row?
You want to freeze the frame?
Bam.
Oh, got it.
I got it. I learned how to freeze rows in spreadsheets in Excel. Not the other day. Yeah, and we can the access to the BDAO treasury inflows should be easy to get from the accounting work group in the Treasury Department. I happen to be in that work group.
I seem to know a guy. It's me.
a moment ago. Per members season to season activity metrics. So this we have to get from Thrivecoin. And possibly, so currently in their spreadsheet, all we have is the contributions, as you know, everything revolves around the contributions. We have the number of people that have completed and the total completions completed, but we don't actually have a list of what members have completed. So once we have the data that is centric around each member, you know, so we essentially need, you know, on this left-hand side, every single member that's ever completed a Thrivecoin contribution, and then we have, you know, different metrics going across the top. But without having that individualized membership data, we're not going to be able to provide the revenue that we need, the revenue information that we need.
Do we have the contact at Thrivecoin that we could?
Yeah, that's Shepard.
Ah, there we go.
Yep.
I still feel like an intern, Ernest, to be honest with you, when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
You are. Any normal job, right? You'd have like 90 days kind of supervised training and, you know, of like 20 to 40 hours a week. And we just give you a little like floating device and toss you into ocean with like a thread to get back to us. So yeah, don't worry about feeling that way. That's completely normal. And hopefully we get better at that in the future. I do have, you know, an onboarding Kanban where I'm trying to keep track of people's progress as they get onboarded.
Like one for each individual person who's getting onboarded?
Yeah, I'm essentially the talent coordinator for this work stream. And I keep track of that on the onboarding tasks Kanban. So I got your onboarding process, Steph, Latson, and Olu, and some other folks. This is the other thing. If we could ever get Joe to run a meeting off the Kanban, it would be a lot more helpful. Because I'm having to take his notes from the meeting and then update all the Kanbans.
I'm sure he'd be amenable to that. And it seems like a good way to keep us on task too, to like be visible with our work, you know?
Yeah.
It's a worthy thing to do.
Bam.